You are about to enter a great adventure.
This is Starting from Gorilla.
All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. SFG is back with another episode. We're excited to be here with you guys. Even though the Yankees lost last night, I am still smiling because I am next to my co-host with the mostest, Big Vito over here. How's it going, man?
What's going on, Mikey Cash?
Honestly, I could have been better. The Yankees really broke my heart last night. 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position, but that's a different podcast for a different day. I could criticize them for years right now, but anyway, we are here to talk about WWE Bad Blood that aired live from Atlanta, Georgia over this past weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about that, talk about the matches, things that stood out to us. And we're actually going to start off today's episode, however, with just a little word about the Netflix documentary that I'm sure everybody was talking about in the wrestling community and even outside of it, the Mr. McMahon documentary. So, before we fully get into it, I just want to remind everybody, you see the ticker at the bottom of the screen. It has all our information for our social media, our website. You can find everything there, archives of our old episodes. Feel free to check it out. We have a lot of fun stuff on there, a lot of good superstar spotlights. Our most recent one was John Cena that we did a few weeks ago. And it seems a little apropos given what happened during The Rock's Instagram promo that we'll get to a little bit later. But anyway, make sure to use that. Find us on the socials and let us know what you think. So let's dive in, man. What you watched this documentary? I watched this documentary. It's an easy watch. Was it only about like 6 episodes? Personally, I didn't feel like as a wrestling fan that any of this information was really that new. I kind of felt like if you followed wrestling at all for the last like several years, you kind of know about a lot of this stuff, so none of it felt very surprising to me. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it was interesting because they delayed this production, and I think they were trying to wait to see if there was some sort of outcome to the new accusations and the what's her name, the Grant
Janelle
trial,
Grant?
Janelle Grant. Yeah, I couldn't think of her first name, Janelle Grant trial, and I don't think they got the ending that they were really trying to tie it all in together, because originally it was just supposed to be a documentary kind of explaining how brilliant Vince was and some of the controversies behind him and everything, but it went a little bit deeper towards the end. There were definitely some interesting parts that I took out of it. One of the big ones was I was really curious to understand the whole Shane McMahon situation. Like, that was something that when he left, I was a little bit shocked, and they kind of gave you a little bit of background into it and how he was really hoping to take over for Vince, and Vince was like, you're going to basically have to kill me. And then Paul Heyman told the story about, the interaction between him with the knife. And I mean, I could totally see that. So it really, I don't understand why some people think that it sheds this crazy, awful light on Vince McMahon, because I don't really think it does. I think it literally just shows some of the stuff that he was doing and the perceptions that people had, which aren't even outside of all of that stuff. Like, all the things he was doing happened. Like, they happened. The storylines that he came up with, the things he did on air, they happen. And I do find it very interesting. It did shed more light into the fact that there's definitely this cross between his on-screen character and him in real life. That's about it. But I thought it was good. I liked how they documented the history of WWF and everything, and kind of let it. I mean, listen, I was glued to my TV watching it. It's because we live all of that. We talk about it every day. A lot of the stuff we talk about on this podcast, it was in that documentary. So I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought they did a really good job. I definitely would have liked to seen some other people like JR wasn't on there. There were definitely some people missing that I think would have added to it a decent amount. And then my last piece, and I'll let you give your opinion because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I also found the clip about Stone Cold and the CTE really interesting, where he's like, I don't believe in that. It's like, it's not Santa Claus. Like, you literally, like, it is literally a thing. And then to go with the CTE, I did not realize Chris Nowinski had gone back to WWE and they invited him back to do all of that research, which I actually think is good. Whether they're doing it for public image or legitimately trying to help wrestlers, I thought it was good.
So I absolutely agree with you there on the CTE point. I mean, one, just bad take by Stone Cold overall.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't believe in it. It's like, do you just not believe that weather happens? Like, I don't understand. I don't believe in the tides, you know.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but it just doesn't make any sense. So I think that kind of proves he might have some. If he really just doesn't believe it, it's just that stuck in his head. But anyway, so the CTE stuff I thought was interesting. And I'm with you that regardless of what the motivation is, I mean, we could argue that till the cows come home, but it really doesn't matter because ultimately it's for the betterment of the wrestlers, and like, they're much safer now than they ever used to be. So, you know, I could care less like if this was a PR move, but the bottom line is because they're actually implementing it, people are a lot safer nowadays. So I'm happy with that. As far as the sort of the way he was Vince was portrayed in this documentary, it did feel like they were filming it one way and then information came out and they had to pivot. And part of this all, like, I think what everybody has to remember here is that regardless of what Netflix says in this documentary, they're tied to WWE now. So it's in their best interest to still make sure that WWE comes through in a nice light, because guess what? In January, you want to come into Netflix and watch WWE Raw. So in order for you to do that, we have to now not at first, I think their initial was, hey, let's show you how great WWE is. Let's show you all of these accomplishments by this controversial guy in the pro wrestling world, and get you sort of at least give you some background. I think that's what they were trying to do. Give you some background for people that have Netflix, that are in different audiences, maybe around the country. Give them the idea of sort of what this guy's about, and then see if it can draw people in. But all of these accusations come out, and they had to pivot because you can't just have like a puff piece on somebody who has human trafficking violations that they're being alleged of. So it doesn't really mix, you know? No. So it doesn't really mix. But so it kind of felt like that. There were some standout moments for me from his interviews in general that I thought were just very telling of Vince anyway. One, it was in the very first episode where he talks about, you know, I give off certain opinions and I'll say certain things that I might not necessarily agree with, but it's anything for the business. So when you hear him say that, everything else he says afterwards feels like, okay, so this is all business. Like, he already told you what he's going to do. So people that were kind of airing clips, and, you know, people get upset, and I get it, because a lot of it is actually upsetting. You know, as a wrestling fan, we've been so desensitized to the shit that he's done over the years that we're just like, it's just what he does, you know? But when you really watch it, like, he was fucking ruthless as a businessman. Yeah. And I can understand his protection of it. I get why he wants to protect it, but there was a lot of stuff on there that was it's messed up that he did, right, you know, over the years. So I can understand it, but you know, I think there's a lot in Vince's background that, like, there were things he touched on. I mean, the Playboy interview that they talk about, I think, was very telling. That he was, I think, in that moment when he mentions that he was kind of vulnerable at that time from a therapist perspective. I think he was vulnerable at that moment because I don't think he imagined that all these years later this kind of interview would be coming back up. So I think there's some trauma there for Vince's background that I think is a little unsettled and plays out in his relationships with the kids and with how he does the business. Dude, sorry, this could be a therapist podcast for a second, but it's wild. But, yeah, but it's an interesting documentary nonetheless.
Yeah, and the one thing that and I'll end this because I know we want to move on.
Yeah,
talk about it another time. But the one thing I found very, very interesting is it's almost like everything he does is a work. right? Like he finds a way to work everything. And the perfect example of that is they talk about the territories and how he didn't give a shit about anybody, and he kind of broke the gentleman's club code by buying all those territories. But then when WCW and Eric Bischoff came in and started doing the exact same thing to him, he spun it as if he was now in the territory position where he's like, these guys are coming in and picking on us, family-owned business, blah, 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 blah. And they called him out on it. And that's when he goes, listen, I say one thing, but don't necessarily mean what I say. And I'm doing it because I need to do it for my business. So, like, I think internally he loved the competition but was also pissed at what they were doing. But he had to spin it in a way to change the public's view of WCW and WWF by making them feel like the small family-owned business. And Eric Bischoff touched on it, and then they interviewed him about it, and it was just very interesting because it was like, I maybe I didn't necessarily believe what I was saying, but I had to say it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And to speak to like what you were just mentioning, it did influence how people felt about it, how people interpret the Monday Night Wars, right?
I thought about it.
It's crazy how that happened. You're like, what? So this was all just bullshit. You just decided,
pretty much.
Now looking at it, at almost 40, good God, almost 40, looking back at that, and you're thinking, well, what? So this was all, he was just kind of just making this up. It was just spinning it so that his business looked a certain way. Is all about the perception. Perception was reality, because that's exactly what we believed. If you watch that old documentary that came out when the WWE Network first launched, it's exactly that. Just talking about how they were like the innocent bystanders and all this. It's like, no, you did the exact same thing, and then somebody else tried to do it to you, and suddenly turnabout is not fair play.
Yeah,
so
and I remember
that was fascinating.
I remember watching it, and like when he talked about that, I remember when he came out and said that whole spiel about being a family-owned business, and I remember feeling very loyal to WWF. Because I was like, these guys are assholes. I'd still turn over and watch WCW, but I'd always be like, oh, they're the bad guys. Like they're the heels, right? And WWE is the baby face. And that's how he spun it. That's how he spun it so that people would feel that way. So it was very interesting. And there's a lot in that documentary. Little subtle things that talk to it. But anyways, let's move on. Let's move on to Bad Blood, because I know we're trying to keep a short episode here today.
I know we can't shut our mouths is the problem.
I know.
It's because we haven't recorded that often. So now we have so much now that we want to say.
I know.
Finally. Anyway, let's get into it. So the show opens up with Hell in a Cell. Opens the show. Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. I really liked this match. I thought this was a great way to start it off. I think it's that kind of classic wrestling adage: if you're not going to close the show, you should open it. Yeah. And I think the crowd was hot. The match itself, I think, really did a great job of sort of hearkening back to even the first Hell in a Cell. You sort of watch some of the things that they did in that match, and there's some little homages to what Undertaker and Shawn Michaels did back in '97. And it wasn't, they weren't looking for like spots necessarily, which is, I think, what can happen when you're in matches like this, when you're in an elimination chamber, ladders, etc. But in this one, I think it was more about just like the brutality of what it means to be sort of locked inside this cell. There's no rules inside that cell, and you're going to do whatever you can to incapacitate your opponent. I think they told a very methodical story. I thought it was a bit on the traditional side of the style, which works well for both CM Punk and for Drew McIntyre at this stage. They don't need to be doing the things that some of the younger guys are doing. They can tell a different kind of story. And I think it's a testament to just, they have really good chemistry together. I think they're like, it's built up over time. It's just gotten better. I do hope that this is kind of the end. I think this is sort of like the bow on it, on the whole rivalry there. And we can kind of see where they move on to next. But it's so impressive to me that the kind of overall what this story's meant and how they've been able to tell it despite the injuries to Punk that have happened. So I think that they've done a really good job of keeping it interesting regardless. And this match was just a really nice end point to that rivalry. And my God, I mean, just the absolute brutality of it, like from bell to bell, just I think really, I think is almost like resurrecting the sort of the mythology behind Hell in a Cell, and that like this match actually means something, and this isn't just a gimmick.
Yeah, you honestly, I don't know that I could articulate anything better than you just said. I think you hit it dead nails right there in all of it. The only thing I would add to it is two things. One, you know who produced that match?
Who?
Abyss.
You know, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
For some reason, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Which I found interesting. The second piece to it is very interesting use of blood. You know, I you know, I couldn't tell which was fake and which was real. Obviously, McIntyre gashed his head open.
Yeah.
And you saw that, like, he just kept like they kept like one point the ref came over and wiped his head. And then he just threw him a towel one time, and you see McIntyre just do this.
Yeah.
But again, it goes to show you, like, I'm glad they're doing that again, because it does add an element of almost like an emphasis on the brutality of the match, right? Like I've always enjoyed it. Again, you don't want to do it too much. Like, I think there is a point where you don't need to do that, but in that type of rivalry, to cap it off like that, I thought it was definitely a brutal match, and was a great button to the rivalry that they had. So agree with you on all of that, and I do like the fact that it was not a gimmick type thing. It was actually, like you said, like a Hell in the Cell match. So
right. It felt they were judicious with what they did.
Yeah,
so it wasn't like every match now had the same thing.
Yep.
Let's see, what other match do I want to talk about? So I wanna briefly just touch on Bayley and Nia Jax. I think that Bayley and Nia have good chemistry together. I think if anyone is interested, you should go back and watch their takeover match from 2017. It was one of Nia's, I think, like her first like big title match. I think it was the takeover in London, if I'm not mistaken. But that match was really well put together, and you saw elements of that in this match, and just now you have like experience on top of it. So I think they did a really good job of telling that story of, listen, Bayley is just a fighter. She's the person that everybody wants to rally behind. She's trying to take on this force in Nia Jax. And to Nia's credit, since she's come back, I think she's just such a better performer all around. I know that there was the talk about how she was dangerous and, you know, she was hurting people and the whole Becky Lynch thing years back. But I mean, that's a long time ago at this point. And if we're gonna do that to every person that's hurt somebody in the ring, like, we're just gonna end up sounding like Bret Hart. and like, I love Bret, but you can't do that. You can't live your life that way. So you got to look at this and say, okay, she made some mistakes, but now she's clearly gotten better in the ring. And I really enjoyed the story that they're telling. I like the tension with Tiffany Stratton with the Money in the Bank, and that this sort of creates like a nice added layer to this story. You know, I'm just curious now where they go. You know, will this sort of triangle continue? Will she try to cash in and it becomes like a triple threat match down the line? I don't really know, but all I know is it was a good match. It was well done. Bayley continues to sort of elevate the people that she's in the ring with. And I think I know it sounds weird because Nia is the champion, but I think Bayley did that for Nia.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that too. I don't know much I can add to that. I'm not a Nia Jax fan, but I thought it was a fine match, and you're right. I think Bayley kind of elevated it. And to that point, you know, I would also argue that the Damian Priest and Finn Balor match was similar in that I think Finn elevated Damian Priest. I don't know what it is. I have lost the steam for Damian Priest since he was champion. And I thought this was one of his better matches. I thought it was good, but I think a lot of it hinged on Balor. And I'm hoping, I don't know about you, but I watch Damian Priest and I see a lot of the Undertaker for some reason. Like, I know he does the choke slam. That's not just it, but just like his movements in the ring are like super similar. I think what turns me off about Priest is his microphone skills. Like, I don't think he's very good. Like, I have a hard time like investing in him for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I don't get excited watching him. I don't know what it is at this point.
I'm kind of with you on that one. I think I want to like Damian Priest.
Me too.
Because I think he's great in the ring. I don't think he's like bad in the ring at all. I think he's a good performer. My struggle is also just like the promo skills, and there feels like there's like he's right on, like there's something that he needs. I don't know what it is. I don't write for him. I don't know how to do this, but there's something there that I'm just like waiting for to sort of click. And we'll know it when it happens, because it's like with anybody else, like they're missing something, and then boom, and you feel it. So hopefully that happens with him. This was probably my least favorite match on the whole card, was Damian versus Finn, and I love Finn Balor. I'm a huge Finn Balor guy, so I was like, I was almost disappointed in myself that I didn't like this more. But I think we sort of swap places. Like how you feel about the Nia and Bayley match is kind of how I feel about the Damian and Finn match. I was like, it was fine. It was good, but Finn was sort of the star of that, which almost it needed to be the opposite. So I that's kind of how I look at it. But, I'm thinking personally, I'm sort of losing steam on the Judgment Day. I just feel like it's like it's been going, and I'm glad that they give things space now, but they're sort of at this cusp of, are we stretching it a little too thin? And do we need to maybe pivot and introduce some other elements and other people into this? But who knows? So did you have anything else you wanted to say about this before we move on?
Nope.
All right. I'm really railroading you here today. I'm going.
Good.
I'm keeping on pace today.
Love it.
Finally coming in hot. All right. So the next match might arguably be my favorite, but it's the Women's World Championship, Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley, with Dominic Mysterio hanging above the ring in a shark cage. I don't know what it is, but I continue to love Dominic Mysterio.
He's great.
I feel like he's a genius.
We really think he's Dominic's kid though? Like, I really feel like he's Eddie Guerrero's kid. Like, he
looks like Ray. If you look at pictures of Ray online without his mask, it is his. But you know what? It's always great that story was so good, and that the way he's acting is just so in line with how Eddie used to be, that it's making you almost question it just a smidge. Just a smidge. 100%. Like, is this real life? Is it actually his kid?
He's a lot taller, and he's a lot taller than Ray.
I know. It's right. And I don't know where he's getting. Now you're making me question it. Now I'm starting to like, because maybe it's one of those wife that tall. No, his sister is not that tall. I don't know. I mean, Eddie wasn't that tall either. So I mean, who is this guy? Anyway,
great match though.
It was a great match. I mean, Liv and Rhea, talk about people that have good chemistry in ring. I think it's also like, they're in real life, they're friends. So I think it makes a lot of sense that like they're just sort of good together in the ring. They know how to perform well with one another. Their styles complement, because Liv is very sort of scrappy. Even though she's a heel, she still has like a scrappy nature to how she wrestles. And Rhea's just dominant. She's got that. I mean, she's jacked. She can toss her around, and like Liv's perfect for that, to sort of kind of feed off of that and like take advantage of little like leverage tactics and things like that. So I really enjoyed it. I was like, so full disclosure, Saturday night I'm watching this pay-per-view, but I also have my iPad on because I'm watching the Yankee game, because I can't help myself and I'm multitasking. But I'm watching. I was watching Rhea Ripley take that swing. When Dominic tries to escape the cage, and I honestly thought he was going to like break his foot or something. I didn't know how that spot was going to go, but he's just hanging there, and she took that swing at him. I was like, felt like John Sterling for a second. He's the announcer for the Yankees, where he was just going to be like, Ripley into right field by Rhea. I loved it. I loved it. And that is my John Sterling impression for everyone at home. So there you go. But
no, you're It was good. The part I liked about it the most was when they showed the referee cam and Rhea was like, "Oh, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go take care of this." And the ref's like, "Yep, you deserve it."
That was like a nice little touch. They just had that.
It
Like,
was.
why is the ref adding commentary on this? He's like, "Oh, you deserve it. Go ahead."
Yep, it was good. I thought it was good. The only thing I'll say, obviously, there was a little botch at the end with
Yeah.
yeah, but listen, I get it, but I don't love when pay-per-view matches end in a disqualification. That's stupid. And so I don't think it was supposed to end that way. And you could kind of tell at the end, but yeah, it is what it is. And I still thought the match was good, and the Dominic Pinata was great. I mean, talk about adding, you have a stipulation like that. Talk about adding a little bit of a touch to it. That was great.
Oh man. No, it was awesome. It was awesome. So, all right. Let's get into the main event. I mean, it was Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. I mean,
well, first of all, I thought we didn't talk about this, but the cinematic SmackDown was it SmackDown? I think it was SmackDown that was on between Roman Reigns and Cody was awesome.
Yeah, that was well done.
It was unbelievably well done.
Yeah, I agree. That's a whole different way that they're trying to tell these stories now, and I love that. It's you're thinking outside the box, and it could have not worked, and I wouldn't have blamed them because at least you're trying something new. But this worked out really well. I think it tells that story of Roman lost a lot after WrestleMania, and he's sort of in the process of rebuilding, and everybody loves a good comeback story. So this is sort of perfect, just a natural progression for him into sort of his, like, you almost want to call it like that legacy face run now, because now he's got all this time behind him and all the things that he's done. And so the crowd just sort of respects that now. So he's just like a natural face, which I think is great. And it really hopefully can help sort of solidify Solo, because I think he's still struggling. I don't know what it is. It's the same thing with Damian. I'm like, there's something missing here. I'm just not feeling it. You feel it with Jacob Fatu because that guy's got it. Whatever it is.
Yeah, he does.
Like there's this energy this guy gives off. And you're like, ooh, I'm really intrigued to see what this guy does, and I want to follow it. Yeah. I don't really feel that way with Solo. I'm just like, you are the youngest of the Usos, and you looked badass when you were like 9 years old in that picture that everybody posts, but like that's the most menacing you ever looked. Right now, you don't do anything for me.
Well, they tried to build him up. Remember when he had the win against Cena?
It was a big win for him. I'll give him credit. That was a good match, but it's only going to take you so far. You gotta. There's something just lost in translation between what they're kind of having him do and versus like how it's coming off. It's just not. It's not translating. So, thankfully, though, there's kind of the biggest story of this match. There's a couple of returns because like there's a few that get like lost in all of this.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there's freaking Jimmy Uso. He comes back. He looks good. I was kind of worried about him. I saw Rikishi post something like "Pray for my boy," and I was like, "What? Oh God, what's going on?" But turns out it was false alarm. He was fine. He came out. He looked good. He did help Roman and Cody eventually win that match. I think it was really cool, the little moment that they had at the end when Roman's like, "You did that for me." I think even like, Roman coming off as surprised that after everything that happened and how I treated you guys, you and Jay, you still sort of came back. So that was really cool. But obviously, I think the biggest, you kind of know where I'm going here, right? Like the biggest thing to come out of this was the final boss, that The Rock is back. He's back again. The Rock is back. I'm telling my friend. So, he didn't even have to do much. He came out. He's sitting at the top of the Titantron, and he did some like little movement there. So I don't really know what the hell that means, but I know. So I'm very interested to see where this goes and who is it directed as? Directed at Cody? Is it directed at Roman? I think it was purposely vague. Could be, yeah, could be Jimmy
Could
Uso.
be all-
He's
I think
coming for him.
I think he was pointing at all three of them, saying
Oh.
all three. You know,
Well, did you catch his promo afterwards?
yes, when he was like walking backstage.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And who
did.
did he sort of throws some shade at John Cena, which is
Yeah, it's
interesting.
true. The Fruity Pebbles.
I know. He didn't really say anything about. Well, he kind of said something about Stone Cold, but then he really went into John Cena. So I have a feeling we might see one more match between the two of them. I'm just tinfoil hat. Cena's got a retirement tour coming up. He's going to need people he wants to have matches with. I think he could do it.
Yeah.
He's already got that connection with the Bloodline because of, WrestleMania 40. He came out and he did all that and had that little brief interaction with Rock. So who knows?
Yeah.
But it's exciting. What did you think of this match? What did you think of the Rock coming back? I've been running my mouth for the last 5 minutes.
I thought the match was fine. I'm with you on the solo piece. It's like, you have Cody and you have Roman who kind of elevated up here against, again, I also like Jacob Fatu. I liked him before he's in WWE, and I knew when he came in here he was going to be the most exciting out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And agree with you on the solo piece. So I wasn't as excited for the main event. I was more excited about the fact that I knew The Rock was probably coming back, which was fine. Listen, the match was fine. I mean, Cody jumping off the turnbuckle, good stuff. I think it was completely fine. Mm-hmm. But The Rock coming back was the most interesting piece. It was good. So I'm excited to see where they go with it. But overall, I thought the pay-per-view was really good. It was short, it was sweet. We like those. It told the pieces that it needed to, and it was quality over quantity. The one thing we didn't touch on is the Goldberg coming back.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
It was a pretty decent little segment.
I thought it was decent. I don't understand this Saudi belt thing. I think the way they're doing it is kind of stupid, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think you need it. In my opinion, those Saudi events were actually getting better and better as they were going along. Like, they actually had relevance. Like, it almost felt like when they first started them, it was more of an exhibition, right? Like, and now it actually had relevance. And to me, I don't know. I don't understand the hype behind it all in having an extra. I mean, the belt is pretty badass. The thing was gigantic.
Yeah.
But
the way I'm just interpreting it is you're in this position where you have this business relationship with them and you have to make these matches mean something.
Yeah.
And you can't just, I think for that particular market, whatever kind of deal they have, you can't just book a regular pay-per-view. I think now that's sort of like the way WWE is sort of shifting and how they present stories. You got to make it a little bit bigger, make it seem like it means something.
I get it.
So I think that's kind of what they do. I think this title's kind of meaningless too, but I think it's more symbolic than it is really like a championship that somebody needs to have on their resume as a wrestler. And it's a way to sort of have champion versus champion matches without having to unify the titles all the time, which they tend to run into. So this is sort of like, okay, you guys just fight and you win this like other thing. There you go.
Yeah.
You win this cup, So, other wrestling companies have variations of that. They do all the time, So I don't think it's like completely unheard of, but for WWE, it's kind of newer. So I think that might be where it's coming from. But
I find it interesting that Gunther came out and obviously it was like a week or two ago where Bret Hart was in the ring.
Yeah.
And then you have him and Goldberg. So it'll be interesting. I know Goldberg wants like a retirement type match. So we'll see. I mean, him versus Gunther, or I keep calling him Gunther, but it's really Gunther. That's how they pronounce it now. But that actually would be good for him. Like, I think it would be a great match. The problem is, I don't know that Goldberg wants to lose. So we'll kind of, we'll see how that ends up going. But
we'll keep an eye on it.
It was a good little segment.
Yeah. one last thing before we go today. We got to talk about the fan footage heel turn that we saw from Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes after the show. I got to tell you, man, what I'm taking away from that whole thing is that tour bus is bad luck for Cody. Every time that guy is out there near it, he's getting his ass kicked. Whether it's The Rock beating him in the rain with a belt, or it's Kevin Owens kicking his ass out there.
And it caught fire. It caught fire a couple weeks ago.
It really did. Yeah, exactly. So what the hell's going on? So I think it was a good move the way they did it. It's one of the better turns I've seen personally, because I like that they just did it differently. It didn't happen sort of your classic in ring. This is what I mean by I'm liking what they're trying to experiment with. This could have fell flat and whatever, but it didn't. And I think a lot of people were into it. There's multiple angles of it. So I think like it's getting people talking about it, because it just, they're trying to purposely blur the lines there of like, oh, well, what's happening? Like, this isn't even happening on camera. Like somebody's phone recorded this. So I like that. And I'm interested to see where that goes. That might sort of divert Cody from anything that might be happening with Rock right now. Right. So it could potentially open the door so that Survivor Series Cody has something to do with Kevin Owens, and then that allows Roman and Rock to do something with War Games, which is my prediction here. So I think that War Games, we're going to see Bloodline 1.0 versus 2.0.
And the other interesting piece is that the storyline is very interesting between Cody and Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens, they talked about how he wasn't like that anymore, and he was, but it was like, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where he got that championship taste. He got the ring was near him.
He held the ring.
My precious was calling him, and he flipped right around. And Cody was the one who drew him back in there, trying to say, "Hey, you deserve this." And he's like, "I don't know." And then he made him do it, and it's on Cody now.
That's right. So Kevin Owens is in his
golden
his Gollum era. That's what he's in right now. He's entering it. I just want him to hold the title, like my precious. But I thought this was a good show overall. I mean, it wasn't like the best show ever, but I thought it was really good.
Agreed.
So, well, I mean, we've rattled on long enough about this show and about the documentary. Just for people who haven't watched it, go on Netflix, check out the Mr. McMahon documentary. Let us know what you think. And if you haven't watched Bad Blood yet, watch it. It's on Peacock. Check it out. It's a nice show. It's not that long. It's 5 matches. All of them, like I thought, really did a good job of delivering. So I think, any final thoughts before we send everybody home?
No, I think we're still in this great state of wrestling right now. AEW got a great deal with Time Warner. WB or whatever they are now. I can't even keep track. And they're going to be, it sounds like they're going to be streaming on Max, which is great. So hopefully we see some stuff going on there. We didn't even talk about it. But they have the Hurt business. Looks like they're coming back with Bobby Lashley. That could help. So good stuff going on, and hopefully we'll get on here again and record here shortly and talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, we had a great time talking with you guys about this pay-per-view, about the documentary. We hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, follow that ticker down below. We have all our social media information on there. Find us. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know what you think about the documentary, about the pay-per-view. We'd love to interact with you guys. And until next time, keep on strutting, jabronis.